Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. The Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, peace be upon him, is perhaps the most disparaged figure in the world today. In fact, it is probably a good estimation that he is the most slandered of religious leaders in all of history. It should come as no surprise, then, that contemporary skeptics claim that the Prophet, peace be upon him, suffered from some sort of mental disorder. Perhaps the most critical proponent of this view today is the anti-Muslim skeptic, Dr. Ali Sina. In his paper, Did the Prophet Muhammad Suffer from Epilepsy?, which is linked in the info box, he argues from several traditional sources that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had a number of physical symptoms suggestive of temporal lobe epilepsy, which, for the sake of brevity, I will from now on refer to as TLE. Dr. Sina begins by stating some of the symptoms of TLE. They are as followed: hallucinations, muscle twitching, abdominal pain or discomfort, sudden intense emotions such as fear, abnormal mouth behaviors, abnormal head movements, sweating, flushed face, rapid heart rate or pulse, changes in vision, speech, thought, awareness, or personality, and loss of memory or amnesia. Dr. Sina then goes on to claim that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, suffered from all of these symptoms. Before I go on, I just want to note that I am actually being generous to Dr. Sina regarding his references. How so? Well, if you read his article, he doesn't bother to cite some of his claims, and some of his citations are actually way off. For those citations that I marked no reference, I could actually not find any whatsoever. Some of the references that he thought existed don't exist at all, such as number 2. Now, for those interested in looking up my references and his, just go to the following website. You can verify all references there or just go to the link provided in the info box. Moving on. Dr. Sina claims that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had visions or hallucinations of seeing an angel or a light and of hearing voices. He experienced bodily spasms and excruciating abdominal pain and discomfort. He was overwhelmed by sudden emotions of anxiety and fear. He had twitching in his neck muscles. He had uncontrollable lip movement. He sweated even during cold days. His face flushed. His countenance was troubled. He had rapid heart palpitations. And he had a loss of memory. Here are the references that Dr. Sina attempts to refer to. Reference number 1, Bukhari Volume 1, Book 1, number 3. The Prophet added, "The angel caught me forcefully and pressed me so hard that I could not bear it any more. He then released me and again asked me to read, and I replied, 'I do not know how to read.' Thereupon he caught me again and pressed me a second time till I could not bear it any more. He then released me and again asked me to read, but again I replied, 'I do not know how to read, or what shall I read?' Thereupon he caught me for the third time and pressed me, and then released me and said, 'Read the name of your Lord who has created all that exists, and has created man from a clot. Read, and your Lord is the most generous.' Then Allah's apostle returned with the inspiration and with his heart beating severely." Reference 3 and 4, Bukhari 6, Book 60, number 478. Then Allah's apostle returned with that experience, and the muscles between his neck and shoulders were trembling till he came upon Khadijah, his wife, and said, "Cover me." They covered him, and when the state of fear was over, he said to Khadijah, "O Khadijah, what is wrong with me? I was afraid that something bad might happen to me." Reference number 5, Bukhari Volume 7, Book 71, number 660. Magic was worked on Allah's apostle so that he used to think that he had sexual relations with his wives, while he actually had not. Reference number 40, Bukhari Volume 1, Book 1, number 2. Narrated Aisha, the mother of the faithful believers. Al-Harith bin Hisham asked Allah's apostle, "O Allah's apostle, how is the divine inspiration revealed to you?" Allah's apostle replied, "Sometimes it is revealed like the ringing of a bell. This form of inspiration is the hardest of all, and then this state passes, after I have grasped what is inspired. Sometimes the angel comes in the form of a man and talks to me, and I grasp whatever he says." Aisha added, "Verily I saw the Prophet being inspired divinely on a very cold day, and noticed the sweat dropping from his forehead, as the inspiration was over." Reference 41, Bukhari Volume 9, Book 93, number 615. The Prophet used to undergo great difficulty in receiving the divine inspiration and used to move his lips. Now, citing all these references appropriately would make it appear as though the evidence is conclusive on the matter. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had TLE. But is this really the case, or has our dear doctor and his supporters failed to properly understand the symptoms of TLE while cherry-picking hadiths that support their conclusion? Let's examine if the doctor and his followers are accurate in their diagnosis. Regarding the first claim that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had hallucinations, Dr. Sina misinterprets what a hallucination actually is for those that suffer from TLE. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, envisioned and believed to have felt an actual form of an angel that looked human when he was receiving revelation. Sometimes he would hear the ringing of a bell that accompanied actual words. The problem with this is that TLE does not create visual or auditory hallucinations of this kind. TLE only produces olfactory and gustatory hallucinations and incoherent auditory and visual hallucinations. Olfactory hallucinations are false sensations of smell, while gustatory hallucinations are false sensations of taste. Auditory hallucinations consist of a buzzing sound, a voice or voices, or muffling of ambient sounds, while visual hallucinations have no formed elementary visual image, such as that of a face. Feelings of vertigo can also arise. The fact is that the hallucinations that the Prophet, peace be upon him, seemed to have experienced are very much not similar to the ones caused by TLE. The only ones that are even remotely similar are the auditory hallucination and sense of vertigo, such as when certain hadiths say that the revelation was hardest or difficult on him, as though there were a weight on his shoulders. Compared to the accusation of him having TLE, the claim that he actually witnessed and heard something seems far better in explanation. For the next objection, I'm going to join together a couple of the accusations into one, because they can all be given the same answer. The claims that the Prophet, peace be upon him, when receiving revelation, had a troubled countenance, had sensations of fear and anxiety, sweated even in cold weather, had muscle twitching in between his shoulder blades and around his neck, and had a rapid heartbeat, are all true. Do they necessarily point to TLE, however? After showing that the Prophet's, peace be upon him, supposed hallucinations are not even relatively close to what TLE causes, it seems we can already cast doubt on the proposition that these symptoms are products of TLE as well. In fact, there is no need for hand-waving here, since all these symptoms are to be expected from encountering something that would give a person an intense sense of fear and stress. If the Prophet, peace be upon him, believes he saw what he saw and heard what he heard, then it is to be expected that he would react this way. This is expected from any human being. What is more striking, however, is that the Prophet, peace be upon him, didn't always exhibit these symptoms. In fact, these symptoms are only reported during the earliest periods of the revelation, whereas they are not reported in any later hadith, suggesting that this was an initial and temporary reaction to what was being experienced. Another of Dr. Sina's claims is that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had uncontrollable lip movements. What I find most interesting about this claim is that Dr. Sina and his proponents, while meticulous in looking through hadith to prove their position, fail to report or miss entirely hadith that contradict their view. If we read in Bukhari, Volume 1, Book 1, Number 4, we learn exactly why the Prophet, peace be upon him, used to move his lips, as well as when he stopped. Ibn Abbas, in the explanation of the statement of Allah, "Move not your tongue concerning the Quran to make haste therewith," and this is going to be in Surah 75, Ayah 16, said, Allah's apostle used to bear the revelation with great trouble and used to move his lips quickly with the inspiration. Afterwards, Allah's apostle used to listen to Jibreel whenever he came, and after his departure he used to recite it as Jibreel had recited it. So, without cherry-picking, as skeptics and fanatics of Islam tend to do, we come to find that these uncontrollable movements were apparently controllable after all. Finally, Dr. Sina, in his desperate attempt to show that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had amnesia, cites a story from the hadith where he was made to forget that he had slept with his wives due to the outside influence of a magician. Whether you believe in magic or not is not the issue here. What is the issue is the fact that Dr. Sina could only cite this story as evidence of Prophet Muhammad's, peace be upon him, persistent amnesia resulting from TLE. My counter to this, then, should be an expected one. How could a man who supposedly witnessed incoherent hallucinations which later resulted in seizures that caused amnesia, create such a massive, rhythmically consistent, coherently compiled group of statements that were not only easily memorized by himself, but are still memorized by a great majority of the world today? It would seem that this is not a product of TLE. It seems that not only is the accusation that the Prophet, peace be upon him, had TLE a desperate attempt at discrediting Islam, but seriously lacking in support. If anything, It merely shows the inconsistency in the self-perception of so-called open-minded skeptics and their love, quote-unquote, for truth. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide them all to the straight path. Assalamu alaikum.